Been some crazy days, it's been some crazy days.
Rafi's tips for artists because he loves you.
Hola, you amazing artist, and welcome to the studio. It's been a couple crazy weeks. My daughter just moved in and we're doing the whole adjustment thing and stuff, but I wanted to record a video with you guys because I was thinking about overcoming obstacles. Whenever you run into roadblocks, whether it's in your art career or life or anything like that, I have found that it's important to have a certain way of looking at things, and I wanted to share just my insight into some of the ways that I approach obstacles when they do come up. So one of the first things I'm going to share with you is going to sound super airy-fairy, and there's going to be some of you guys that are like, what the and that thing is having a positive mindset. Now, before some of you are like, ugh, really? I want you to think about the fact that whenever you are in a place where you are downward spiraling into an issue, like just completely focused on an obstacle, worrying about a thing, it sends you into a place where you can't see any solutions. You actually downward spiral and you find yourself like not knowing what direction you're going to go in, what you're going to do. Even in those moments, make a shift from being in that downward spiral to start focusing really on the things that are working, the things that you do have control over. It's such a powerful thing because it allows you to start focusing on solutions versus being stuck in the problem.
I feel like one of the most important aspects, but it gets overlooked, is like the ability to avoid throwing blame. Not because there aren't mofos to blame in certain circumstances, sometimes there are, but because blaming gives away your personal power. And so you gotta avoid throwing blame, maintain your personal power, and be like astronauts.
Like astronauts.
Yeah, like if you have a ballpoint pen, you can do some shit.
Now, the most important thing about maintaining a positive mindset is understanding the difference between slapping a happy face sticker on and pretending like everything is okay. You don't want to like bury and suppress your negative emotions. You got to face them because it's the only way that you're going to be able to confront that obstacle that is in front of you. It's important while you're doing this to maintain a positive outlook on your ability and your capabilities to move forward beyond the obstacle. The second thing that I have for you guys is have a clear strategy. Have a clear strategy. And essentially what I'm going to talk about here is fa-chunking. Fa-chunking. Chunking is a concept that I came up with in one of my books where you take 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 50 minutes, and you just do that thing. The chunking part is where you break it down into those steps. This is step number 1. All right, I'm gonna give myself 5 minutes to do this. I'm gonna give myself 15 minutes to do this. At the end of that, if you're like, you know what, I really don't feel like doing this, give yourself permission to not do it, but then pick it up again the next day. What that does is it allows you to really practice on having a clear strategy instead of like, all right, I got to get this thing started and this big overwhelming obstacle or this big overwhelming project. Now you've got these little chunks and you're just chipping away at it little by little, allowing yourself the time to say, you know what, I'm gonna not do this today. That's really important because if you are avoiding taking care of yourself, right, and like really just pushing through, like I'm just gonna push through and I'm gonna do this thing even though I don't have it in me, that's great. You might be able to prove to yourself that you did have it in you, but it is a road that could easily lead to burnout. We all know that if you are burned out, every obstacle just seems like an overwhelming mountain, so don't do that.
We tend to want to distract ourselves, at least I do, by diverting our focus in a million different directions and doing what I call thinking of everything all at once.
Which is impossible.
It is a procrastination technique also, and so I try to like maintain my focus and stay the course, knowing that when I'm done with whatever this thing is, then I'm going to shift my focus and think about that thing. But when I try to think about all the things at the same time, usually I cry.
Does that get you very far?
It doesn't. No, it's not very effective.
The third thing that I think about when confronting an obstacle is adaptability. The ability to understand, like, you know what, no matter what comes my way, I'm going to be able to figure it out. I'm going to be able to go around the obstacle, maybe go over the obstacle, even dig underneath the obstacle if I need to. A lot of times we get stuck in our heads and think that there's just one solution for this thing. I gotta get this thing. This needs to happen before I'm able to do this. Your world becomes very black and white. It's like, I can't do this because of this. When you allow yourself to be adaptable, you could change directions. You become unpredictable. unpredictable. You become kind of crazy and you get out there and you change things up. Find solutions that maybe aren't solutions that are typical, or solutions that maybe other people expect, or solutions that you could even see. It allows you to look a little bit further than what you might think is possible for you.
It's so easy to want to just throw your hands up in the air and scream into the void and have an existential crisis and be like, this is just not working. Why, Bear? Why?
Oh no, not why, Bear.
Stop
why?
it, Bear. I was a pro at this, but the truth is that it's not very effective either. I'm not saying don't have your tantrum. Have your tantrum.
Wait, did you have a why, Bear, why tantrum?
I mean, I not specifically with Bear, but I've had similar. I do think it's important to have your tantrum if you need to. Like, not taking it out on other people, but just, like, releasing the emotions.
Yeah.
So that you can move on.
I get that, because I do that. I do that when I'm like, you know what? I could feel however it is that I want to feel about this. Yeah, that's my tantrum.
Well, that's a very elevated tantrum.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just like, ah!
The other thing that I have to remind myself of whenever I'm dealing with an obstacle is being resourceful. That means facing fears and reaching out to certain things that maybe I'm afraid to reach out to, or looking for solutions that are different than what I'm typically used to doing. This is one of those steps that I constantly have to remind myself of, because I am terrible at asking for help. Like, I am terrible at asking for help. And there are plenty of people out there that may be more qualified in dealing with the situation, or at least have some advice for me or a different perspective that I haven't looked at. Understand, like, these are the options that I have around me. These are the people that I could reach out to, even if it is just for a different perspective.
Definitely reach out. But also, avoid asking your jerk friend Steve, who doesn't know anything about what you're attempting to do, or your Uncle Charles, who maintains to this day that you should have gone into accounting.
Yeah, don't ask Charles or Steve. Steve. And finally, the most important one is persistence and determination. Understanding that if the end result, the goal that you're looking for is the obstacle itself, just getting over the obstacle, then you're going to get stuck there, right? That's going to be your point of focus. Your persistence and your determination should be based on something that you personally feel that you can do right now, despite the obstacle being there. What I mean by that is that a lot of times people will be like, well, I need to make more money with this thing, and money is a big hurdle that we all have to face and get through. But if you're focused on the money and the money is not coming, what's going to happen is that is not going to motivate you to keep persisting. In fact, if anything, it's going to make you want to quit. You got to find something within yourself that you do have control over to really focus on, to allow you to persist and have that determination. I'm going to create this much work. I'm going to create work that means this to me. I'm going to create work that means that to me. I'm going to sign up for this many shows. Right? The things that you do have control over versus the things that you don't necessarily have control over. You don't have control over how much money you're going to make. You don't necessarily have control over how much of your art is going to sell, and you don't have control over what shows you're going to get into, what competitions you're going to win. The only thing that you do have control over in those circumstances is how much art am I showing, how much am I putting out there, how many shows am I signing up for, how many competitions am I entering, how many opportunities am I giving people to find my work. And really, that's that grit, that like extra oomph, that ooh, I've got grit. Grit. I'm going to put myself out there despite all the obstacles, despite all the stuff. I'm going to put my artwork out there. I'm going to shove it down people's throats. I'm going to do whatever it takes to proclaim to the world that I am an artist.
Even the smallest amount of grit will eventually sand down that turd you're dealing with into a real nice shiny turd.
I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't know how to feel about sanding a turd. It's a great analogy, though.
Thank you.
And that's it, you guys. Those are the things that I keep in mind and I think about and sometimes really have to remind myself of whenever I am running into an obstacle. And other than that, thank you so much to everybody that has ordered a calendar. We still have like 40 calendars left. Now, the pre-orders are still available for my calendars at a discounted price until the 1st of December. So there's still plenty of time to buy the 40. So if all of you guys want to just go and buy those, That would be great. And a big shout out to the Rogue Artist community. Listen, you guys are amazing. You are the reason that these videos exist. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. All right, so do you want to say goodbye, Clee?
Good day.
And a big thank you to you guys for watching. You guys are absolutely amazing. I totally adore you. And hey, if you like this video and this is the first time you're watching us, just go ahead and click right over here to subscribe. And other than that, I would say that that's it. There's stuff to do, so I'm gonna go. Adios.